TNTM The Show presents Comicast 258 with your host, Pablo Gunner, and I am here to talk nerdy to you about comics for the week of, damn it, I forgot to look it up, what the day was. It's November, that's all I know. The 9th? For the comics that came out on November 9th. Those are the comics that I'm reviewing. And here at Talk Nerd to Me, we have our own grade scale that is by skim pass with variations that are strong and weak. And then our best book of the week we call the B-Bow, aka Back and Bag of the Week. As well as there's a runner-up. You know, we also announce the runner-up. That's usually towards the end. And there's a ringtone. So since it's just me reviewing the books this week, it's just going to be a minute. There's a ringtone that goes off after a minute, tells me when I need to start wrapping stuff up. This is what the ringtone is. If you know what it is, be very specific. Tell me what it is. I'll hook you up with a free digital comic. Here it is. So, that's it. And I believe that is... Oh, spoiler alert! Yeah, of course. There's going to be at least minor spoilers. Sometimes we get overexcited. We overspoil. I feel like that's been happening a lot more recently. But anyways, we'll go ahead and jump into this, huh? Starting with a book that I was actually supposed to review last week. It's Bitch Planet number 9. I thought, you know what? It's a phenomenal book, so I'm going to review it this week. It just can't be considered for Back and Bag of the Week because I'm not reviewing it in the week that it actually came out. So I'm going to go ahead and cover it because it's just such a great book. It is published by Image. It is written by Kelly Sue DeConnick. Where's all the info, man? Come on. I want to say Valentin Delandro is the artist, and then it says Fitzpatrick and Cowles. I don't even know. But okay, so they're getting ready for something. I don't know what, like a Super Bowl type thing, and then. And then, if you've been following this, it turns into like an all-out, just full prison riot at the prison. That is, and then it really turns into this bitch planet thing. You know, it's finally getting to that, which is all these females that are imprisoned here. They're getting broken out, and they're like, "Oh, this planet is barely hospitable." And they're like, well, that's all we got, you know, so this is the bitch planet, you know, and that's what it's getting to finally. And it's crazy because there's this lady, and she's been locked up there for a very long time, but they didn't know, and she makes an appearance, and she kind of unites all the ladies because they're fighting. And it's great because there's that one part. She's like, there's this one inmate, and she used to be part of the establishment, but then she got in trouble, and then they turned her into an inmate, and she's there with another inmate, and she's like, oh, it's fine. She says something about her being like, oh, I always thought the devil was a white woman, and she's like, that's racist. I just thought that was hilarious. But she can just continue putting that on. Now, here's the thing. This has a lot of extra content, which is the exact reason why I didn't review it last week. Is I didn't review it because I knew that I needed a lot of extra time, and I didn't have that extra time to read it. Because there's essays in the back, there's tweets, there's all kinds of extra info, which, I'm going to be honest, this is a straight up, like feminist book. Straight up. And nothing's wrong with that. In fact, it's phenomenal because of that. Um, it gives a lot of people voice who have not had it for a long time in the perfect ways. And so that's why I enjoy it so much. So it is absolutely a strong buy. It's just one of those things that because it's been a while since this came out, I was tempted to switch to trade, but I found out that in trade it doesn't have the extra content at the end, so I'm gonna continue getting it in issues because of that. They said they might put out a special edition though if you do want the extra content, so that might be an option down the road, but right now it's not. All right, another indie book, but this is through IDW. And DC. It's Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures #1. The Face of Two Worlds writer Matthew K. Manning, artist John Somariva, inker Sean Parsons, colorist Leonardo Ito. And so this takes place in, well, it's both worlds separate at first, but the animated worlds. So it's the animated world of Batman and the animated world of the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon. And it starts off with the Turtles, and it's funny because Mikey's on a superhero kick, and he's pulling like Batman style talk and stuff on this robber and stuff. It's funny, and then it goes to Batman, which it does look a little more. It looks a little softer than you're used to seeing in the actual animated. It looks a little more cartoony, not exactly the way it is, and even the Ninja Turtles looks a little more kiddish. Um, but they find out that there's some sort of portal between the two of them, and that's how these villains got out of Arkham, and then now they're in Clayface shows up in the TMNT universe. Of course, Donnie being Donnie, he figures things out, and so he's awesome. And then it's cool because some Foot end up in the Batman universe along with Harley and Joker, and then Batman calls Robin to be like, "Meet me at this place." So I'm jacked off about the next one because I really want to see Robin. Um, Dick, I love me some Dick. That's what I'm wondering too, is if it's going to be Dick, or if it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be Jason. Even though he was the second Robin, I think if anything, it's going to be Dick because I think that's who it was at first in the Batman animated. So here's hoping for Dick next time around. So I'll keep getting this for now. Like I said, the art is a little more light looking, like lighthearted and just lighter tone and everything on both sides. Of course, it's darker on the Batman side, but so I can't give it a strong buy because of that minor. It's just slightly off. When you say like you're going exactly for the animated stuff, you exactly. Sorry, I'm anal. But yeah. So it's a buy for now. So yeah. On to some Marvel and its #1s. Marvel's putting out some #1s, and this week it's Black Panther: World of Wakanda #1, and we have the writer is Roxanne Gay, consultant Ta Nehisi Coates, artist Alita E. Martinez, color artist Rochelle Rosenberg. And this one is all about the Dora Milaje, if I'm saying that correct. Let me go back. Dora Milaje. Yeah, I thought it was Malaje, but yeah, Dora Milaje. I'm gonna say it like that, maybe. But anyways, it's about these ladies who they even say they're like, oh yeah, these ladies were originally groomed to be the wife of or wives of the king, but now they've changed, they've evolved. We're now like they're warriors, but they would eventually become the the queen, or one of them would be chosen to be the queen. And so now they're just warriors for the throne. And so you see these ladies, and there is a relationship going on between, like, okay, so this new team, they're, these new recruits, and they're training them, and the captain, she has feelings for one of the new recruits, which to me felt inappropriate. Not because they're both women. In fact, I'm completely down with that. I'm totally for it. It felt inappropriate because she's higher ranking, and to me, being in the military, as well as just places that I've worked where you have the office, you have, you know, your regular boots on the ground, and then you have your officers, that's always, having a relationship with them has always been inappropriate. So to me, I always feel weird about that. You do see it grow over time. They do keep it professional for the most part, um, which is good. But there are times when it's not and stuff. It is really interesting. It is really cool. You see them go through battles and get stronger and better and stuff like that. Then they show this other lady's backstory as well, who has the powers, and how she met up with this dude who was leading the fight against Wakanda and T'Challa. So it's interesting stuff. I will give it a 2-issue try because it is rich, and I like that. Just like the culture and everything about it, all the characters and stuff, going deeper into everything. So I like that, and the art is superb all the way through. So I feel like the second story though is a lot better when it comes to the art, which the writers are Yana Harvey and Ta-Nehisi Coates, artist Afua Richardson, color artist Tamra Bondilin. That one was a lot better. Um, so tough. This one's tough. I'm gonna um I'm gonna give this one a buy as well. Like I said, I'm not sure yet. It didn't completely suck me in, but it was really interesting. So, like I said, I'll give it a 2-issue chance, and it's a buy at this point. And here's your digital code if somebody wants to check it out. F for Frank, C for Charlie, M for Mark, 8, 2, K for Kill, 3, D for Dawn, R for Richard, C for Carl, 7, G for George. On to our next Marvel #1. It's Invincible Iron Man #1. And I believe it's still the same creative team, which is Brian Michael Bendis as the writer, different artist, Stefano Caselli, color artist Marte Gracia. And so this one is Riri Williams essentially being Iron Man for her first thing. And I'll be honest, I hate her Iron Man suit. It's big and it's bulky and it's ugly. I like the sleek look that is on the front cover, even though that looks like Tony Stark's armor. Well, which there's different covers, but here's mine. It says Riri Williams as Ironheart. Because in this one, she hasn't even come up with her own Iron Man name, Iron name. I don't. Anyways, so she's in like Wyoming or something like that, fighting this lady that can create monsters. I don't know. I don't remember if she's a mutant or inhuman. Um, and so it also shows her backstory of like he had the principal was like, she's bored, she's a genius, but you need to keep on reminding her that this is a beautiful world, because people who are that smart, they kind of disconnect with the world, so you have to keep her connected to the world. So her family's constantly like, this world is great, this world is awesome, love the world, it's beautiful, and everything like that. They show how some bad stuff goes down, with like her best friend, and her parents, with some sort of attack in the past. So yeah, it is really, and this continues to touch on on the um, Black Lives Matter movement as well, because there's a part where she saves the day, the police show up, and I don't know, I mean, I'm assuming they don't know that she's black under the Iron Man armor, but nonetheless, one of the police shoots at her, and she's like, I just saved you guys. So she takes the gun and she destroys it, and then flies off. I feel like that's speaking something, just because of the fact that we know that she is black, even if the police don't, I feel like that's saying something, which is good. I think it is good, you know. Um, but yeah, I really liked it. I'm gonna keep getting it. It's not there yet, where I want it to be. Like, story is really interesting and the visuals are amazing, but it didn't, like, her personal stuff really hooked me, but it's the rest. Like I said, I hate the way her armor looks, and if I have to look at that armor constantly, I'm not going to continue picking this up because I hate it. So that is the one thing that really irritates me the most. Um, Otherwise, it's a strong buy. So yeah. Alrighty, on to the next number one, which, we continue doing like post Civil War II books. That's what these are, even though Civil War II is still going on. And I don't think it's anywhere near close to being over, but I'm not sure. Anyways, this is Avengers number 1.1, and it's Mark Waid, so that's why I picked it up in the first place, because I was like, well, it's Mark Waid, you know. So I gotta get it. But we have a different artist because this is a throwback story. Screw it. So yeah, it's a throwback story of like the original Avengers changing over to kind of like not new Avengers, but when they recruited Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver, and they left Captain America to go like, all right, you're the new team, and it's like, really, just those three? That seems like off, you know. And so it's uh, penciler is Barry Kitson, inker is Mark Farmer, colorist Jordan Boyd. Um, but yeah, I really like it a lot because I love Quicksilver. I like Scarlet Witch. Hawkeye is great. He's showing off. He's a showman because he is from the circus. And so he does a good job at first. But Scarlet Witch is the one that she's always been emotional because as soon as the crowd is like, oh yeah, well, you're criminals and stuff. And, she just storms off and they're like, she can't even handle, reporters and stuff. How is she going to handle villains? And stuff. And they end up kind of working things out. And then the Frightful Four attacks them because they're like, oh yeah, we're going to take them down. These are the new Avengers and stuff. So, and Cap tries leading the team, and it does not work out well. So, I definitely want to see more of this. And it says next Avengers, so this is going to continue. I'm just wondering, like, how it's going to continue in what sense, because it's like there's still the Avengers number 1, and then so is this going to be 2.1 is going to be the next one? How is this going to work? I'm wondering. So regardless, it looks great. I really love the throwback issue stuff. It was phenomenal. I liked everything about it. I give this one a strong buy, and I feel like yeah, it's definitely a contender as well. And if you want to check it out for yourself, here's a digital code: F for Familia, C for Carlos, M for Marcos, T for Tomas, L for Lopez, W for Wera, A for Alvin? I don't know. 3, E for Echo, C for Carlos, and 0. I stalled on that one. I stalled on that one bad. All right, on to our next book and last Marvel book of the week. It is Power Man and Iron Fist number 10. We have David Walker as the writer, Sanford Green as the artist, Lee Lowridge as color artist. And this one, at first it tells the story of this crew who calls themselves, or used to call themselves, the Fang Gang in Harlem, where they all like sharpen their teeth, and it was it was Tombstone and some other guys. I don't even know who they all are, but they broke up even before they became something because they couldn't stop from fighting each other. Black Mariah was one of them, and oh man, I love Black Mariah in this. Anyways, so yeah, then it gets to the current day, and it's pretty much Luke and Power Man, or Luke and Danny, picking up the pieces of the fallout of Civil War II, or the fight from the prison that broke out. Then they hold a meeting with the superheroes, and they're like, hey, there's this thing going on where there's this criminal stuff, and we're going to get all these we're gonna help all these criminals out, or they used to be criminals. Whereas this guy, he's trying to bring back the Fang Gang back together and be like, hey, we can be a thing, you know. Whereas other people are trying to get other people together, which they've mentioned recently. A certain lady, lovely lady, if I might add. And you also see a little more of Senor Magico. I'm sure that that JD is sad that he missed out this week because we have some Senor Magico. But anyways, it's really interesting. I really liked it. It's consistent art. It looks great, and it's good stuff. And it's interesting who this other new player is. So like I said, on multiple fronts. So yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. Definitely, for sure. I'm loving it. It's been great since the beginning, but this is a superb jumping on point, as it is the number one of Harlem Burns. Starts now. So it's good stuff. I like it. Love it. Gotta dig it. And it's a strong buying contender. And you know what that means, folks? It means it's time for commercial break. Time to talk about one of our sponsors. This time our sponsor is Twin Sons Comics and Games, which is located near Coors and Montano. It's across in the area of Wex, in that area, and yeah, they're great dudes. It's run by these twin brothers, hence the Twin Sons, but it's also a Star Wars reference because they're hardcore Star Wars guys. And they're such great guys to talk to because they're always on the up and up for the most part, for all the nerdy stuff. Like, I just talked to one of them about Doctor Strange. And then it was cool because there's this other dude, and he jumped in on the conversation. So it was the three of us talking about Doctor Strange. And it was funny because, like, right away he was like, "Oh, I think there's people here that haven't seen it yet, so try to keep it, on the DL with spoilers." And I was like, "Yeah, for sure. I always do that because I always assume that there's people in the vicinity that haven't seen stuff yet, so I try to keep it spoiler free." But to the point where, if you have seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, so that was great, BSing with him about Doctor Strange. But they don't just know about current shows and movies and stuff like that. They are hardcore about everything in their shop. It's comics, graphic novels, statues, cards, like card gaming, yeah. And then tabletop gaming. They are so hardcore about the tabletop gaming. In fact, they're open pretty much from like 11 to 12 almost every single day because of the tabletop gaming, because it is just booming. It is just so busy. So like I'm sure that if you're into tabletop gaming, you're already there. So and if you get a subscription with them, anything you order through the subscription, like through it could be statues, it could be comics, it could be shirts, it could be whatever. But whatever that little booklet, you fill it out, turn it in, 15% off. So automatically, it's fantastic. But yeah, they have so many statues. It's glorious. They're so beautiful. And then they have like almost a whole wall of graphic novels, as well as there's some manga there too. And of course, the New Week's comics every week. And then they do have some older stuff too in there. And like I said, they have a snack machine and they have clothing too. A snack machine and clothing. You can get food and drinks if you're playing tabletop game in there and stuff. So it's great. It's a great place to check out. Like them on Facebook, Instagram. Check them out. And make sure you go buy stuff from them. They're phenomenal. So yeah. Back to comics, peeps. It is time for the rebirth, DC rebirth. It's Supergirl number 3, which I did miss number 2, but then I ended up picking it up so I'd be caught up with this because of JD's sterling review on this. So, anyways, my phone was locked. So yeah, I'm caught up now, so that I'm ready. I was ready to take this one on, and Steve Orlando is the writer. Then we have Ching as artist, and then Michael Ataya as colors, I believe. And this one has Kara because she got some offer from her cyborg father in the last issue, Cyborg Superman, and was like, hey, I remade the city and stuff. And so she's talking about that with her new family, which is a really awkward and weird situation, how they're like so invested and connected with her, yet like it's a job. Like it's their job to be her parents, and yet they're acting like they're legitimately her parents, which they don't. I think it's weird because they don't go into like, well, we've always wanted to adopt a teenage girl or a teenage daughter, and now's our chance. I mean, they do a little bit by going, hey, we're getting paid for this, so we got to do a good job. But yeah, Argo City lives. So she goes there, with the assistance of her foster mom, just to keep an eye out for her. And she goes to find out what's going on with her dad and what's happening. And it turns out he's just turned the whole city and people into cyborgs, but they don't have like a soul. They don't have an essence. And so she's like, nope, this is not what I wanted. So they duke it out, of course, that's how things go. And the DEO, I think it's the DEO, is like, oh, why did you guys leave her and stuff? And that's where they kind of go into the whole, the whole thing. But things are not looking good for Kara or Earth right now. So yeah, Brian Ching is the artist. But yeah, this is pretty solid. This is pretty cool. I like this. This is essentially, it's more, the art is more lighthearted, which I think is the perfect tone for Supergirl. But it is dark at times because you have Cyborg Superman and these whole army of cyborgs and stuff. Yeah, it's like I said, I like it. It's really interesting. It's good stuff. I feel like this issue was definitely better than the last issue, but it's not. This isn't a perfect issue though. Like, so I'm gonna give this one. I'm gonna give this one a buy. On to the next rebirth. It is Batgirl and the Birds of Prey number 4. And this book was kind of exactly what I was hoping for, which is backstory on Helena Bertinelli. We actually get a backstory on her family, and they're like, yeah, Mafia is actually a word um, that means town protectors or vigilantes. Um, and so it was like, oh, her family was originally protectors, but eventually became corrupt. You know, that's how that thing goes. Uh, Written by Julie Benson, Shauna Benson, artist Roge Antonio, colors Alan Pasalacqua. But yeah, so that was really cool getting that back stuff on her family. Then she tries to attack this lady on her own, which was a mistake because there's these snake folks, and she ends up needing the help of the Batgirl and Black Canary, and luckily they just showed up, right on time and stuff, and they're like, okay, fine, we'll work together. Then you get her backstory as a little girl too. So it's one of those things where like it just keeps getting better as it goes on, and they're like, oh, so we're doing this thing, and they're like, well, we already did that thing, but it didn't work out for us, and we're like, yeah, but we're doing it different, and it's kind of creepy, kind of cool, and interesting at the same time. That little headquarters of the new Oracle, which I wonder if the new Oracle will become part of the crew or not, because it's like, oh, this person's an admirer of you, and so like on a creepy level though. But anyways, unless you're into it, right? That's how things go. Is like unless you're into your admirer, then it's not creepy. That's how things go. But um, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted and was hoping for. Not exactly, actually, it was more than. It was more than. It was more than that. So I have to give it a strong buy and a contender because of that. I wanted to know more about her backstory, but they gave me even more than I expected and wanted. But it was great. So, like I said, strong buy contender. On to All-Star Batman #4, written by Scott Snyder. John Romita Jr. as pencils, Dan Miki as the inks, Dean White as colors. And man, this was just freaking epic from the word go, and it has been this whole time. We have Batman, his eyes just got attacked with acid by Harvey Dent. Or not Harvey Dent, but rather Two-Face. And so he's going into like, oh, this is why it hurts and stuff. And it's cool because they do show like how Batman does try to have protectors come up on his eyes and his mouth in time, but it wasn't fast enough. So he's dealing with that. So he's partially blind, but he has like the echolocation. And then Duke is there too, and Duke looks cool. And so they're fighting these Talon but they look like two-faced out, and it's really cool. And they're in this sewer, and Harvey ends up flooding Two-Face, ends up flooding the sewer. It's just super intense, and Batman, oh, it's just so awesome. I love this Batman. He's just so cool. Like now that I've figured out what Scott Schneider is doing with it's just pure genius. And so it's just so great, and it just keeps getting better and better and better. And his vision does improve over time and stuff. Shouldn't have spoiled that. But yeah, they end up finding Harvey and stuff like that, and continuing their travels to the location. But they do end up getting attacked by the original crew that's after them, and they're thrown up on like pinwheels and stuff, and then other people show up to. I don't know if it's to help them though or not. It ends up kind of being a help, but I don't know if it's going to be in the long run. And then the second story flows right in so well, like not visually and storytelling wise, it flows right into Duke's story going on with Zaz, and he's figured out this woman, and she's like, oh, you tried to, send Zaz after your competitors or people that you're trying to take out in your company. You sent him after them, but he's a psycho and he figured you out, and now he's after you again. Now that he knows that you're actually alive, even though you changed your face and everything like that. And so, but he's also after Duke as well because Duke is also a survivor of Zaz. And so, but that's when his buddy shows up right on time, and so it's a combined effort. And so it was a great ending to an arc on that end, and it just flowed so well. Um, now that, like I said, that is a different artist, but man, they both killed it, and Schneider is at the top of his game in this issue, as well as everybody else. Everybody else is at the top of their game. Both artists, are at the top of their game in this issue, and like I said, it just flows so well together, and it's just brilliant and phenomenal. Like I said, we get two different Batmen, you know, and but one of them is focused on Duke. One of the stories is it's just superb, superb. I can't help but give it a strong buy-in contender. On to the next Bat book, we have Detective Comics, and it's 944. And this one has some of the crew going, oh, we want to check out Lucius Fox's car. And looks like they have some security. But also, it's at the same time they're getting attacked. So they're like, hey, we need you guys up here right now. And so you see Batwing suit up. And then this victim syndicate's doing their thing. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to take you down, Batman. But it's cool because Batwing is teched out, and so they were not prepared for that, and so Batman does end up doing his thing a little bit, but ends up turning out bad. Which that's what this, I think it's a lady, said, which is, oh yeah, um, if you do something, I'm gonna kill people here. I'm gonna kill these police and stuff, or just these people here. And you end up getting the backstories or some of the backstory of these people of the victim syndicate, as well as Batwing becomes part of this crew and is like, oh, he figures things out. Oh, this was actually Red Robin stuff. Um, it's pretty it's creepy. Like this is tipping on the toes of horror, of like the horror genre. It's not quite scary enough, but there's definitely elements of it, and I really like that. Um, it is James Tynion the fourth as the writer, and then we have Eddie Barrows as the artist. I think it's Julio Ferreira as colors, or inks. Yeah, inks, and Barrows as pencils, and then Lucas is the is colors. So, but yeah, phenomenal book. I'm totally digging it right now. Right now, it's really interesting. So I'm gonna have to give this one a strong buy and contender as well. On to our next book. It is The Flash number 10. And we have a different artist. I wasn't upset about it though. It is writer Joshua Williamson. Felipe Watanabe as the penciler, Auclair Albert as the inker, Chris Sotomayor as colorist. And so this stupid guy calls himself Papercut. He's trying to mug these people in this park, which Iris has lured Barry Allen with her to there so that she could get a story and see if it's true. Then Kid Flash shows up, and he's not supposed to be flashing on his own or heroing on his own, but he takes this guy on, and he's like, oh, you're a joke. You can just control paper. And he's like, nope, I can control wood too, so I'm not that easy. And so ends up backfiring on him. And then Flash is like, oh, I got to give you, tell you some stuff, especially because he's been skipping school because he's been flashing. And he's distracted and stuff, and he's like, all right, fine, well, I need to prove myself to Flash. I'm going to take on this guy, this shadow dude, and stuff, because there's like a power vacuum since the Rogues left, which I miss the Rogues. But yeah, this is another one that seems like it's tipping on the toes of the horror genre, but it's not until towards the end. Um, so the rest of it, it's a pretty light colored and themed. Well, not themed, but colored book. Um, but like I said, it gets dark towards the end. This one really good, really interesting, really digging it, really like it. Um, I don't know. I feel like there's some stuff that there's some things that I don't like about it, even though it's kind of fitting. Like Paper Cut, the villain is like that was really weak and that was really stupid, but it worked really well at the same time. Um, so I am going to give it a strong buy. Next, it's Superman Action Comics number 967. Dan Jurgens as the art writer. I want to say Tyler Kirkham is the artist, and then Arif Priyanto as color artist. And this one shows the world just like exploding, and it's because of Doomsday. And then these guys, the Men of Steel, show up, and they're like, "Yeah, we're here to do this," um, because of blah blah blah. And it's funny how Jonathan, he's like, "Hey, how come you didn't stick with that black suit, or that you don't do the suit that had the underwear on the outside?" And Superman's like, "Well, I wanted to go with something that was more familiar, something more like this new 52 Superman." So they would just essentially think that they're him, that it's him, kind of. Then it goes into this interview with Lois Lane and Lex Luthor, and it's interesting how he has this thing going on in the background that is checking out Clark Kent. Um, and she's like, "Okay, should I be worried about that?" But he's not trying to hide it, so maybe that's not a bad thing. Then somebody attacks, and Lex Luthor suits up, and Clark Kent actually shows up too to help, and then he does the watch and stuff. And at first she's bugged. She's like, "Oh, what? He gave him a watch and not me?" And he's like, "Oh, he's just keeping tabs on him and trying to monitor him, you know, and stuff." And you see that it's these Men of Steel attacking and stuff. We still haven't figured out like why they're there. Well, actually, by the end of the issue, you end up figuring out why they're there, and it's really interesting because it's something that actually I thought this happened before during the Dark Side War. So it's interesting, good stuff, and it is a possible future as well, I guess. So yeah, this one I find it really interesting how they're tying in Superboy, Lex Luthor, Clark Kent, and Lois Lane. Somehow they're juggling all these things and doing a phenomenal job with it. So even though I'm not exactly sure what's going on with these villains, I don't really, care about them, which I don't think I'm supposed to because they're bad. But I don't, I want to know more about them. So I'm gonna keep reading, because I want to find out more about these guys, and it's really interesting. So I'm gonna give this one a strong buy and contender. Last book of the week. It is Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, number 8. Last but not least, definitely by far, I believe it's the same creative team, but I'm not sure. Robert Venditti as the writer. I want to say Ethan Van Sciver as the artist, and then Jason Wright as colors. Oh, I was correct. So yeah, this one, it says that Hal is dead. So his ring is looking for a new person. And then turns out there's still something like the Lanterns get their communications up, and they're having a talking with the Yellow Lanterns that are good, I guess. And they go to this planet where it looks like somebody is attacking. And it appears to be Starro, but that's just the way things appear to be at first. And but then backup comes, unexpected backup, and it's funny how John Stewart's like, "Hey, I told you to stay put," and she's like, "I'm not a Green Lantern anymore." We aren't Green Lantern, so we don't have to listen to you. And then it turns out like it might be some sort of um, Brainiac related business going on. I this one was definitely not as good as the rest, or as interesting. There's definitely good spots, even visuals, like with the attacks. I felt like you know, it's just it wasn't as cool. But you have to, like it's been such a high level. It's hard to keep up that level of consistency. So I can understand to a certain degree, but I just still felt like this is the beginning of a new arc. So it's kind of hard to have it as you know, as Bebow material from the get go. I will say that it's still a strong buy. But like I said, it's not, completely there for me yet. I'm feeling like I said, this is going to be a build, you know. So I don't really know where they're going with it. It is interesting. So like I said, I still give it a strong buy. It is contender time. Let's see here. Let's see. Um, you know what? I am gonna have to go with Batgirl and the Birds of Prey as my runner-up because, like I said, I said, hey, now we just need Bertinelli's backstory for me to care about her and to be interested in her and just know about her more. And they did that, but they went deeper, and it was really good and really well done, and I really enjoyed it. And like I said, I'm wondering if at this point they're going to bring Oracle into the fold as well, because there is no Oracle right now. And so that would be an interesting turn of events is, hey, someone who is kind of bad, you know, being part of it, because Helena started that way, kind of where she's like, I just want to kill these dudes, and now she's part of the crew. So I kind of hope that this, Birds of Prey thing becomes there's more people get into it, you know, um, because I'm always about some you know lady power, you know. So yeah, like I said, phenomenal book. Looks great. Looks phenomenal all the way through. Past stuff looks slightly different. And I'm always impressed with that type of stuff. Um, but I'm gonna have to go with as my back and bag of the week. It's gonna have to be All Star Batman #4. Like I said, it was absolutely killer. It just it was so great. So many great twists and turns. I have no idea where it's going, and I love that. I love that I'm along for this ride. I don't know where it's going, and it's a blast. The first story is a complete blast. The second one, I wouldn't say it's a downer, but it's definitely more serious in tone, and not just with Batman, but with Duke as well, and and I really like that. And it's also more hardcore detective stuff. Like I said, it makes complete sense to me now why it's called All Star Batman. It's because we have this ridiculous, over the top Batman story for the first one, and then for the second one, we have more of a Detective Comics style, and it's mashed up into one book, so it's All Star Batman. So yeah, there it is. That's it. Tell me what your back and bag of the week is. No one tells me their back and bag of the week. I'm a little hurt, you know. No, people aren't telling me what they think of the books either, that of the digital codes that I give either, so what's up with that, like I said, you don't have to give our grade system if you give it, even though I do. BBOW is our system, and I definitely want to know that. But that's the other part. People, come on, where's the comments, the likes, and the comments, and the subscribes for the YouTube, so that I can give you more of these digital comics? Get on it on the YouTube, you know. You gotta. It's because I keep half of these books just for that, and I know that I'm behind by like I think a few weeks now, by like a few podcasts already. But hopefully, eventually, I can get caught up someday. But anyways, Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, viewing, liking, tweeting, all these good things. I appreciate it. You know, you can always check all our stuff out at TNTM the show, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Tumblr, and of course our website, which is the hub of all of it. So yeah, thank you again, and remember to keep your eyes hungry for comics.